Well, hi, beautiful souls. I'm Elizabeth, and welcome to Untangling the Heart. This time is for you. So grab a cup of coffee or tea or whatever brings you a sense of comfort. Sit back, relax, and settle in. As you listen today, just notice what resonates for you. There may be something here that's meant just for you. It's so good to have you here. Today's episode is called Living with a Guarded Heart, a story of emotional protection and resilience. And I am so honored to have and introduce to you my guest today, Orlando Darden. He is an amazing soul. The minute I met him, I knew I wanted him to share all of who he is here. And he's going to be sharing a meaningful part of his journey and how he began to find his way through that. I'm really grateful you're here, Orlando. So let's begin wherever it feels most true for you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first off, Elizabeth, thank you very much for having me to appear on your show. I feel it an honor and a privilege, and also of sorts of therapy session, I'm sure. But I am happy to be here. I'm happy to share my aspects of my life story that could resonate with others. I believe as we share with each other, amongst each other, in ways we could potentially help each other out because we could say, "Oh my God, I'm not the only one having this experience." And I welcome the opportunity to not only to share, but also to learn somehow through this process and this podcast we're having today. So I am from the Washington D.C. area. Uh, I've lived elsewhere. I'm 63 years young. I will always say that I'm young because I believe age is a mindset more, and certainly there are chronological issues that are related to that, but it's really a mindset. And my mindset, now and currently and in the future, is just to make it a point to live each day as best you can and find opportunities to enjoy that day. So those attributes alone will help you to live happier and younger in the process there.
I love that. Drop the mic. If that's all any of you got out of that, that was amazing. See,
Thank you.
I told you I couldn't wait for you to be on here. That's
Well, we're just warming up too now. So
we are. Okay, so, tell us a little bit more about yourself and then, what's been going on. We'd love to hear your story.
sure. My story is let's talk about maybe the last let's say 10 years. It's 10 years or so. Again, I have been married twice. Um, Interestingly enough, my wife's was previously married to, we met each other in situations that we didn't expect to be a part of. Very briefly, my first wife, we met at a party at that neither one of us planned on attending, but divine intervention, I'm sure, kind of motivated us to go to the party anyway, and we met and we connected. My other wife, we met literally online through Facebook, and from that, we just chatted for a while, and then we ultimately connected and said, "Well, let's take this conversation offline and have more of a dialogue and see how real we can potentially be together." Then, so what's I know these are my former wives that I'm a part of, and through that process, there were lots of joys, the joys of meeting, the adventure of meeting people, women who were different from myself, different in the sense that I'm a U.S. citizen. One of my most recent former wife, was is from the UK, and my wife before then, it's her birthday, interestingly enough today, and I did wish her happy birthday because I live in an environment of total forgiveness and openness and things of that nature. But she's from Liberia, West Africa, And what I'd found out in that experience is that I have uh, both of them taught me a lot about myself, about life and culture. And I'm grateful to this day. Certainly because although I expected and hoped that this would be a one-time marriage, and between the two of us respectively, it didn't work out that way. I initially went through my difficulties of the feeling the shame that's involved when you have a divorce. What did I do wrong, or what could I have done better? The heartbreak, and am I going to ever find somebody? You find a person, and you kind of get used to them. You kind of get settled in your way, and there are positive aspects of it, and they're not positive aspects of it. But I was getting used to just we got used to how we related to each other, and then life and circumstances changed, and we ended up not being able to go down the same road, and went our separate ways. And again, my posture now is that I accept it amicably, and also I have total forgiveness from my standpoint, because uh, we both played a role, and we did our best when we could at that time. So uh, that's the part of the story. Feel free to ask me more, and I'm happy to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you so much for just being so open and sharing that. I think it's really important because so many people, men and women, go through that question. I loved a couple of points that you made. The shame of divorce and what can I do better? And so I want to ask you, based on living with a guarded heart. Um, how was it that you were able to open up your heart a second time to another relationship?
Great question. I opened up my heart for a second time, because and or a or a third time or whatever. I've opened my heart up because I fundamentally two things. Number one, as I started to go through the process of detoxifying, negative emotions and feelings, I came to a point where I said, you know what? Um, I my self-worth, in this situation, I will, help it to, let's say, recover, because the self-worth was, of course, damaged when you felt that you did something wrong, but I forgave myself. That's the first part. I forgave myself. Second, I forgave my, former wife, took away the blame that you could have done this better, or I could have done this better, and I just chose that. I knew that I wanted to get back into a relationship at the right time, and I wanted to come from a place of being loving. So, in order to be loving, you must be willing to allow a level of vulnerability. You must be willing to put your heart out there, and trust it again, so that hopefully the alignment with that next person will be something that's real and true. At this stage of my life, it's very important to be authentic, but in order to be authentic, you need to also be vulnerable. You need to be able to let those pieces of you get out there and take a risk, and see whether or not it's something that you're able to express yourself more as a result of being vulnerable. Then, so I hope I'm answering your question, as
No.
intended.
No, I love that, and I'd love to stay with that for a
Sure,
moment in that
sure.
allowing vulnerability, because you've talked a lot, you've used several times forgiveness and then that vulnerability. So, what was that like for you in that moment when you maybe you didn't feel a shift, but that moment of feeling vulnerable, and how is it that you either decided or you were able to kind of move past that? Because you're absolutely right. We have to, in order to be authentic, you have to you have to trust, right? You have to
You have
trust
to
your,
trust.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how, feeling that vulnerable, feeling without that protection, feeling, our hearts are guarded. We don't want to get hurt again. And yet allowing yourself that openness, like how did that how did that work for you? What was that shift for you that moved you there?
That shift was I wanted to use this as the situations as an opportunity to continue to grow and become the larger version of myself. For any for in let's say in relationships in life in general in business or whatever, if we want to go to the next levels of our capabilities, our possibilities, our potential, we must be willing to be vulnerable, meaning that we must be willing to take risk. We must be willing to maybe be wrong or maybe not be right, and and take advantage of the opportunities that come our way. For me, as a part of I felt and I still feel very strongly that the right relationship is out there for me. I believe it was going to be more divinely led, and in order for me to attract that, I must first off have an open heart. You know, regardless of what has happened in the past. Again, those parts of my life, I think either substantially or maybe totally cleansed them out of my state of being. In other words, many times sometimes we don't process pain in our situation. I've certainly gone through pain. You know, again, the humiliation, the embarrassment, or and the what did I do wrong, or how did I let the person down? And I've overcome that and said, you know what, I know I did the best I could in that period. I know my intentions were to do the best I could in that period. I've learned how I could do better. And I said, as a result, I wanted to trust myself again. Many times I think people get into a shell where they don't trust themselves, and that's where they start to close up their heart instead of opening it up some more. I trust myself, and I trust, let's say divine intervention to allow that process, let's say the next level of myself to emerge, and I really want that to happen. So that's why I'm willing to allow vulnerability and become and be authentic in the process. In other words, be who I am. I accept who I am, my mistakes and all. And I think if I show up authentically, you'll get the best version.
Yeah, and we certainly have gotten the best version. I recognized that the first time I ever met you, so
Thank you very much. Thank
oh,
you.
no, that is absolutely the truth. And it's a challenge for many of us to open our hearts when we close them up, when we put that, as we call it, a heart wall of protection,
Right.
and to really start to think about, okay, I need to trust myself. I need to trust the divine within me, the God within me. I need to
Yes.
trust myself, and then put yourself out there again. It's so easy when we're little to take risks, right? We're curious,
Yes.
and we stand up, we fall, we stand up, we fall, we ask a zillion questions when we're 3 years old, we're not afraid that someone's going to, think it's too much or we're too much. And yet somehow all of these experiences that we have as we continue to grow, what I heard wrapped in between what you were saying was that you weren't going to make your old story your new story.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really profound.
And
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna identify my old story. What's important, as I've learned and continue to learn is that when we're in this period of, let's say, attempting to move forward, we must, really kind of go do a what is the word for it? An audit, if you will. What story am I telling? And am I allowing myself to tell a new story, or am I moving into a new relationship and I still have the old story packaged up and recycled? And I the times that during this period of, let's say, moving in the next direction for myself, I believe I've given myself a lot of time to really make sure that I am telling myself a new story of what I want, who I see myself to be, who I want in my life, and how I believe it could be a better circumstance.
And that's so huge and so rare because we do run on those old stories, and we've all heard of emotional baggage. And
Yes.
literally that's what it is. It's old thoughts and patterns and emotions that we have trapped within us, and it's often, well, when I say rare, that doesn't I don't mean to qualify that it can't
Sure.
happen. It obviously has, and it obviously does, and it did for you. But and that's
Yes.
why I see you as such an inspiration as well. Uh,
Thank you.
and yet, you know, we run on these old programs of,
Yes.
oh well, I'm a failure. Well, that's just created, right? Or
Right.
this is not going to work. Or we watch other people's behavior to see if it's the same behavior we had, we experienced before, and then we attach a story to it, and it- we just make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Absolutely.
Just make it more
Absolutely.
complicated. And so, what do you feel supported you the most through this process? And again, this was several relationships. It wasn't just, one and then your whole life changed. You learned lessons and you integrated on the way. But what was one of the things that you felt most supported by as you went through this healing and learning process?
That's a really good question. Um, I can say this much, it wasn't a men's council that helped me through this process here because that's a whole nother subject story for another time. But in the instance of men, we don't have that intimacy of, sharing our story, kind of cleansing out that in many instances. I'm sure there are men who do have very close relationships, whether it's a brother or a natural, what is it, a natural brother or um, a really close friend. So during that process, quite honestly, I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of listening on these subjects of, how to basically let go of pain, let go of the past, let go of, fears, stories that are holding you back. And I've also uh, listen to podcasts such as yours as teachers to me. I believe all of these were teachers along the way to help me revisit and reform my way of thinking so that at least, again, I have the courage to continue moving forward, the courage to keep my heart open. And know that, hey, there's still a risk that I could get hurt again or whatever. Then, but in a relationship that I had more recent that lasted 8 months, um, it ended to my surprise. But at the same time, although my heart was open, I believe, I didn't feel brokenhearted in the same way. And the way I explain that is that I opened my heart, but still there was some a manner to kind of protect myself if things didn't go well. It allowed me to recover sooner, and it also allowed me to give faster. In that sense, we don't forget because we're hurt, and we reprocess that same old story about why we're hurt. I'm not saying it's not legitimate, but we have to remove ourselves from the hurt. We have to tell ourselves two new stories. I forgive the person and the circumstance for what happened. I forgive myself, and I'm on my journey to constantly learn, constantly improve, and become a better person. And this is just another effort, another situation, circumstance that said there's more for me, and I need to trust the process of my continued evolution.
It's amazing. And I
Thank you.
it's so important that men have and seek out a way, or a person or someone trusted or a group or whatever it is that they can also express. It's unfortunately, I think our society has raised a lot of, not all, but a lot of little boys to not cry, to be the strong one, right?
Oh yeah.
And men and women are extremely strong, and we've all been through lots of stuff, right?
Yes.
Yet it's been okay, at least in society up until now anyway, it's been okay that women, express themselves freely in whatever that is. Whether that helps them to shift or not, but at least it's an expression. It doesn't get stuck in the body, right? And I
Yes,
love that you're sharing this because men also, I'm sure you would inspire them as well, is to reach out and connect with someone whom you can have just an honest, open, non-judgmental conversation. It's not like nobody needs to be fixed. Nobody's broken, right? And yet there are things that can shift in your life that make life so much better. And I love that, you said, what supported you? You did a lot of reading, you did a lot of listening, you did a lot of self-reflection. And
yes,
basically, Orlando, it's like, the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear
that happened every single time.
every single time. Look at that. That's absolutely amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone who was in who maybe is going through or has just recently gone through, and I do want to touch on forgiveness in a little bit, but I want to ask you first. What would you say to someone that is either going through or has just gone through the experience that you've been through? What would you share with them?
The first thing I would share is begin to continue the process of forgiving yourself. You showed up the best way you could at the time. Uh, but I would say, be in the process of forgiving yourself and also be in the process of forgiving the other person. As they say, when a snake bites, when we receive a snake bite, it's not the snake that takes us away, it's the venom. And the venom is trapped emotions that we still have and haven't decided to let go of. We have to also realize, and this is something I'm learning in my journey, is that whatever ended was supposed to end, even though we in the moment it doesn't feel you felt that it should have continued to go on. Why? Because life is always leading us towards something better, and we must be willing to let go of that is, let's say, that is no longer a part of our life in order to allow something new and something better to come into our life. Even in the instance of my marriages, even though they ended, each time that I entered into the next relationship, there were aspects of it that were better. They felt better and the like. And I know that's kind of a oxymoron to say that, but yes, I noticed improvements. I continue to feel that there are improvements. So there's a lot, and also going back to the whole thing of being vulnerable, is for men. Women are able, or what is the word for it? Women are in a situation where it's okay to be vulnerable, but men are still learning to be vulnerable. And I always remind myself that vulnerability is a strength; it's not a weakness. It's a strength. It takes a lot to, kind of open yourself up uh, and share your raw feelings, go through those processes. But it's through that process, as I'm continuing to learn, that we become stronger, we become wiser, we become clearer, and we eliminate more of the toxic thoughts that we had and emotions that frightened us from being able to be our authentic selves and allow a new version of ourselves to emerge. So that's what I would say. Be willing to be vulnerable, and in order to allow yourself to grow. And vulnerability is a strength; it's not a weakness.
Wow. Mic drop. That's amazing. That's
Thank you.
amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and perhaps we can dig more into forgiveness another time. However, I wanted to piggyback on that is that
Sure.
there are often people who come to me and say, I don't understand what forgiveness is. I don't understand how to do it. I don't understand the process. And, forgiveness is really not for the other person. And you keep saying forgive yourself and forgive the other person.
Right.
But it's exactly what you explained is not carrying that venom around with you, that resentment and the pain and the old stories. it's releasing the other person, but it's also releasing you from carrying that with you forward.
That's so true. The thing that also helped me with forgiveness is that normally when we don't forgive, we think we're inflicting pain on the other person. Maybe we are, but many times that person is moving along with their life, but yet we're
Yeah.
holding on to the past. We're holding on to emotions, and that goes back to the whole venom analogy, that we're the one being poisoned by emotions, negative emotions, and things of that nature, and they're in a whole new aspect of their life. So it's important that again we um, allow the process of forgiveness. And it's not an overnight process. It's not something that's quick and
Right.
flip the switch and that's all there is to it. It's certainly I've done it over time, and it's kind of like I noticed the meter in my life where I was at 50% forgiveness and then 75, and then I see myself breaking through the 90s, and it's a cleansing experience. It's not a quick process, but it's an intentional process. You must be intentional in doing so, and realize that there's more to our life. Our life is not the sum total of our past experiences. It was an experience, but it was intended to grow us and position us for something better. We must be willing to take that journey and accept the training that was involved in order to journey to our next destination.
Beautiful. I love it. That's what we signed up for. We came here to experience and to learn the good, the bad, the ugly, the highs, the lows, and
Exactly.
learn from that and grow. And someone wise once said to me, "If you're not growing, you're dying." Right. So
Exactly.
it's take all of that with you and then be able to
Exactly.
transform that,
Exactly.
into the next step. I love that. I love that. That's
Thank you.
amazing. That's amazing. So just share a little bit about last question, and then I want you to dig into a little bit more about you
Sure.
before we close today. But
Sure.
what does taking care of yourself look like these days?
Taking care of myself looks like um, from sunup and from the beginning of the day throughout the day, um, and as we retire for the evening, allowing ourselves to focus on gratitude. And what I mean by that is finding reasons to be grateful, finding reasons to see the blessings that we do have in our life. Too often we don't notice the good things that happen in our life, especially if we're in a moment of pain. We focus on the things that we're not thankful for. But for me, it's just intentionally and progressively working on being a more grateful person, appreciating life. It doesn't have to be anything big in that moment. It could just be small things such as today's a lovely day and I'm out and I feel good, or I'm doing things that I enjoy, and just continuing to build that muscle. I call it a gratitude muscle. You know,
Mm.
just continue to strengthen it, because the more we practice it, the better it makes us feel, and ultimately the better the experiences that we find in our life.
I love that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Tell us just a little bit about what you do and how you help others, because I know everyone would be curious about that as well.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Professionally speaking, I am a independent business funding broker, and what that is, and what resonates. This is actually a part of my cleansing too. Is some Many times we may be going through our own situation, but one of the ways I've learned and continue to learn to improve our own circumstances is by helping others. So in the business that I'm in, helping business owners to get quicker and easier access to working capital, there are what is it? There are so many businesses that are not able to that struggle to survive. And by being a resource to my business clients, a coach to help them understand how to get funding to help them grow and expand their businesses. The thing that I love about it is I get to help an individual male or female who's running their business overcome some stress that they're feeling, and that is, how do I keep my doors open? How do I grow my business? How do I keep it successful? So for me, I feel like I'm making a difference when I can help, in this instance, a business owner overcome a major challenge that gives them stress in their lives, and by providing the solution, helping them to have more joy, helping them to experience a better aspect of their life than they otherwise would. So um, I love what I do by connecting with people. That's something that I do. I'm not a good person to hide behind a computer screen, but to meet people and connect with them, energy and otherwise. Then so um, I that's me
I
in a
love it.
nutshell.
I
Yes,
love
thank
it.
you.
I love it. So those business owners who had a limiting belief, or limited funds, now become limitless, and you help people become limitless.
That's exactly what it is. The limiting belief is that there's only one or two sources of funding, and I help them to expand their awareness of what's available. And in doing so, that gives many more business owners hope.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
Thank
So,
you.
where can listeners connect with you?
Okay. Well, I can be connected. Well, by email. My email address is Orlando, the spelling of my first name, Orlando, uh, J as in January, R as in run, 2063 at gmail.com. Um, my, my mobile number is 202-738-2042. I'm available to talk or text or whatever. I do feel very much at a mode in terms of how can I help? How can I serve? It's one of my mantras I say every day. So, in your listening audience, if there's somebody where there's something I said resonated, and I'm not a trained counselor, so let me disclosures here. That's where Dr. Elizabeth is a person to go to here, but my training is life experiences here. And if there's something that how I can be resourceful or helpful or encouraging, certainly feel free to reach out.
No, I love that. Thank you so much. You know, what
Thank
really
you.
stayed with me from what you shared are be vulnerable, trust, forgive,
Yes.
and be in gratitude.
And be in gratitude. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much. I am so grateful for your openness and for sharing this with us today, Orlando.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Elizabeth. I really appreciate it, and thank you very much. It's an honor to be here and to help whomever I could help in the process.
My honor. My honor. Thank you. And thank you all for being here today. And if one person came to mind while you were listening, please feel free to share this conversation with them. You can find Untangling the Heart on YouTube, LinkedIn, and wherever you enjoy podcasts. And be sure to please follow or subscribe so you never miss a conversation. Until next time, from my heart to yours.
We've all got stories we don't say out loud, little knots we hide away. You're not broken, you're just learning to be honest with what you feel today. This is untangling the heart, one brave breath, one tiny start, finding strength in every scar and every part. You're not falling apart, you're just untangling.